The clock struck midnight, its solemn chimes echoing through the fog-shrouded village of Eldridge Hollow. High in the ancient bell tower of St. Mary's Church, a shadow stirred. Sir Reginald Harrington, the imperious lord of Harrington Manor, clutched the railing, his face twisted in terror. A muffled cry pierced the night, followed by the sickening thud of a body hitting the cobblestones below. Villagers, roused from slumber, gazed in horror at the crumpled form, blood pooling under the moonlight. Whispers spread like wildfire. Murder most foul. Who could have scaled the tower unseen? And why? Enter Hercule Poirot, the meticulous Belgian detective, drawn to this quaint English enigma by a cryptic telegram. The game was afoot, and the little grey cells would soon unravel the tangled web. Chapter 1. Arrival in Eldridge Hollow. The train screeched to a halt at Eldridge Station, its iron wheels grinding against the rails under a sky heavy with the threat of rain. Hercule Poirot, the diminutive Belgian detective with his impeccably waxed moustache and polished patent leather shoes, descended onto the platform, his keen eyes scanning the sleepy village of Eldridge Hollow. The air carried the damp chill of an English autumn, and a faint mist clung to the cobblestone streets, lending the scene an ethereal quality, as if the village itself were holding its breath. Captain Arthur Hastings, Poirot's steadfast companion, fumbled with their luggage behind him, muttering about the dreariness of the countryside. "Mon ami," Poirot said, adjusting his overcoat. "This place, it has the air of secrets, n'est-ce pas? A mystery awaits us, and the little grey cells, they are already at work." Inspector Japp of Scotland Yard awaited them, his broad frame leaning against a lamppost, his face etched with the weariness of a man who had seen too many crimes. "Poirot, Hastings," he greeted, tipping his hat. "You're a sight for sore eyes. This one's a proper puzzle." As they walked toward a waiting motorcar, Japp recounted the grim details. Sir Reginald Harrington, lord of Harrington Manor and a pillar of Eldridge Hollow, the heart of the English countryside in this autumn of 1932, seemed frozen in time, its charm marred only by the shadow of death. Harrington Manor loomed ahead, a grand Georgian edifice with ivy-clad walls and tall windows that reflected the grey sky like mournful eyes. As they approached, the front door opened, revealing Lady Evelyn Harrington, the widow. She was a striking woman in her early 40s, her auburn hair swept into an elegant chignon, her morning dress of black silk accentuating her pale complexion. Her eyes, red-rimmed from tears, held a complexity Poirot noted at once. Grief, yes, but also a flicker of something else. Relief? Fear? She extended a delicate hand. "Monsieur Poirot, your reputation precedes you. Thank you for coming." They were ushered into the manor's drawing room, where a fire crackled in the hearth, casting shadows on the oak-panelled walls adorned with ancestral portraits. Lady Evelyn sat, her hands clasped tightly. "My husband," she began, her voice steady but soft, "was not a kind man. He was exacting. A tyrant, some might say. But murder, it's unthinkable." Poirot tilted his head, studying her. "Madame, all things are thinkable when a life is extinguished so abruptly. Tell me, who was with him last?" She hesitated, her fingers twisting a string of pearls. "He dined alone last night, as was his custom. He left for the church at 11, saying he needed to clear his mind. The bell tower was his refuge, a place to reflect." I retired early. I heard nothing until the screams woke me.
Jap interjected. We've questioned the household. No one claims to have seen anything unusual. But the tower's locked door bothers me. How does a killer get in and out without a key? Poirot paced, his small steps precise. The door, it is locked. The key, it is found. Yet the man, he is dead. We must 50s, with a florid complexion and a penchant for cigars. He shifted uncomfortably under Poirot's gaze. Reginald and I had disagreements, he admitted, exhaling smoke. He wanted to pull funds from our joint ventures. Reckless schemes, I thought. But kill him? Preposterous. Next was Elias Thorne, the manor's gardener, a burly figure with calloused hands and a scowl etched into his weathered face. Sir Reginald sacked my brother years ago, accused him of theft, ruined our family. I won't lie, I despised him. But I was at the pub till 11, as witnesses can confirm. Miss Clara Ellis, the young maid, stood nervously by the window, her hands twisting her apron. Barely 20, with mousy brown hair and wide, anxious eyes, she stammered, I overheard arguments, sir, between Sir Reginald and others, but I was in my quarters by 10. I swear it. Finally, Reverend Thomas Langley, the vicar of St. Mary's, clasped his Bible, his thin frame rigid with piety. Sir Reginald mocked the church's pleas for charity, he said, his voice trembling with indignation. He was a sinful man, but I would never take a life. Poirot paced, his hands clasped behind his back. Each of you claim innocence. Yet one fact remains. Sir Reginald is dead, and the key was in his pocket. Or was it? He turned to Jap. The key, Inspector. Was it truly found on the body? Jap nodded. Yes, in his waistcoat. Why? Poirot's eyes narrowed. Because, mon ami, if the door was locked and the key was with him, how did the killer depart? Unless... He paused, letting the question hang. Hastings, ever eager, suggested, a duplicate key? Perhaps, Poirot said. Or perhaps the tower holds secrets of its own. They visited the bell tower, a Gothic structure of weathered stone, its spire piercing the fog. The spiral staircase was narrow, the air thick with dust, gazing at the bell tower silhouetted against the stormy sky. Hastings, he said softly, this village, it is a stage, and the players, they hide their roles. But the truth, it will emerge. A sudden rustle in the hedges below caught his attention. A figure, cloaked and swift, vanished into the darkness. Mon Dieu, Poirot whispered. Someone watches. Someone fears discovery. He resolved to inspect the tower again at dawn, certain it held the key, not just to the door, but to the murder itself. The rain began to fall, a steady drumbeat against the manor's windows, as if nature itself mourned Sir Reginald, or concealed the killer's tracks. Poirot's little grey cells hummed with anticipation. The game was well and truly afoot. Chapter 2. The suspects assemble. The drawing-room of Harrington Manor glowed with the amber light of a crackling fire, its warmth doing little to dispel the chill of suspicion that hung over the assembled company.
Hercule Poirot stood at the centre, his small, precise figure commanding attention despite his unassuming stature. His moustache, a masterpiece of symmetry, twitched faintly as he surveyed the faces before him, each a potential player in the grim drama of Sir Reginald Harrington's murder. Captain Hastings sat by the hearth, his notebook open, scribbling observations with the earnestness of a schoolboy. Inspector Japp leaned against a bookcase, his arms crossed, his eyes darting from one suspect to another. The air was thick with the scent of polished wood, cigar smoke, and unspoken secrets, as if the very walls of the manor whispered of betrayal. It was the morning after Poirot's arrival in Eldridge Hollow, October 1932, and the Belgian detective was ready to unravel the threads of this perplexing case. Poirot clapped his hands, the sharp sound cutting through the murmur of nervous chatter. "Mesdames et messieurs," he began, his voice smooth yet authoritative. "A crime most heinous has occurred." Florid complexion and a penchant for ostentatious cufflinks. He puffed on a cigar, the smoke curling upward like a serpent. "Reginald and I had our differences," he admitted, his voice gruff. "He wanted to sink our profits into risky ventures, mines in Africa, shipping schemes. I opposed him, naturally. But murder? I'm a businessman, not a thug." His eyes flickered to Lady Evelyn, a glance too fleeting to be innocent. Poirot's moustache twitched. Blackwell's alibi. He claimed to have been in his room reviewing ledgers at the time of the murder. Next was Elias Thorne, the gardener, a towering figure with hands roughened by years of toil. His dark eyes burned with a quiet intensity, and his soil-stained boots seemed out of place on the Persian rug. "Sir Reginald ruined my family," he growled, his voice low but resonant. "Accused my brother of stealing tools, sacked him without proof. We lost everything. Our home, our name. I won't deny I hated him, but I was at the Black Boar Inn till 11, as the barman will tell you." His fists clenched, and Poirot noted the strength in those hands. Capable of strangling, perhaps? Miss Clara Ellis, the young maid, hovered near the window, her slight frame almost swallowed by the heavy drapes. Her mousy brown hair was pulled into a tight bun, and her eyes, wide with anxiety, darted nervously. I didn't see anything, sir," she stammered. "I was in my quarters by 10, asleep. But I heard arguments lately, between Sir Reginald and others." She glanced at Blackwell, then quickly away. Poirot tilted his head. "Arguments, mademoiselle? Of what nature?" Clara flushed. "Money, mostly. And personal matters." Her vagueness was telling, a thread to tug later. Finally, Reverend Thomas Langley, the vicar of St. Mary's Church, stood clutching his Bible, his thin lips pressed into a line of disapproval. His clerical collar was starched to perfection, his grey hair neatly combed. Sir Reginald was a man of wealth, but little No signs of forced entry. The lock's intact, and the key fits perfectly. The coroner says the skull fracture killed him, but that bruise on his neck. Strange, don't you think? Very strange, Inspector, Poirot agreed. The bruise, it speaks of struggle, of hands that gripped before the fall. We must ask, why stage a fall if strangulation was intended? To mislead, perhaps? He turned to the group. I will inspect the tower again, but first, I require your candour. Who saw Sir Reginald last, before he left for the church? Lady Evelyn spoke first. He dined alone, as I said. He was in a foul mood, business troubles, I think. He left the manor at 11, saying he needed the tower's solitude. Blackwell nodded. I saw him in the hall at 10:30. He was muttering about debts. Didn't speak to me. Thorne and Clara claimed to have been in their quarters, and Langley reiterated his sermon preparation. Poirot's eyes narrowed. And the key? It was in his pocket when found. But was it there when he fell? Or was it placed to create the illusion of impossibility? He dismissed the group, but not before noticing Blackwell's lingering glance at Lady Evelyn and Clara's hurried exit, as if fleeing scrutiny. The trio, Poirot, Hastings and Japp, returned to the bell tower, its stone walls damp with morning mist. The spiral staircase wound upward, each step creaking underfoot. At the top, the bell hung silent, its rope swaying slightly in the draught. Poirot examined the railing again, noting the scratches, fresh, jagged, as if from a desperate grip. A struggle, yes, he murmured. But the footprints, 2 sets, one smaller. A woman, perhaps? Or a man with delicate feet? Hastings, peering over the edge, shuddered at the drop to the cobblestones below. Ghastly way to go. But why here, Poirot? Why the tower? Because, mon ami, it is isolated, yet public. A paradox. The killer wished the death to be seen, yet the method...
Can't say, sir. It's not my place.
She fled, leaving Poirot pondering. As evening fell, the manor's atmosphere grew heavier, the storm outside mirroring the tension within. Poirot sat by the fire, sipping tea, his mind racing. Hastings, he said. The cufflink. It points to Blackwell, but too obviously. The fabric, the footprints, they suggest another hand. And the key, why leave it, unless to deceive? Hastings yawned. Perhaps it's simpler, Poirot. A robbery gone wrong? Non, mon ami. This is personal. Passion, greed, revenge. These are the threads. As they retired, a creak on the staircase caught Poirot's ear. He peered into the hall, catching a glimpse of a cloaked figure slipping out the back door. The same shadow from the hedges. The killer, perhaps, growing bold? Tomorrow, Poirot vowed, he would tug harder at these threads, for the truth was close, hidden in the shadows of the midnight bell tower. Chapter 3. Shadows of the Past. The morning mist clung to Eldridge Hollow like a shroud, wrapping Harrington Manor in a ghostly embrace as Hercule Poirot sipped his tisane in the dining room. The events of the previous night, the fleeting shadow in the hedges, the green fabric scrap, the VB cufflink, danced in his mind, each a piece of the puzzle that was Sir Reginald Harrington's murder. Captain Hastings, bleary-eyed from a restless night, buttered his toast with unnecessary vigor, while Inspector Japp pored over his notes, muttering about the locked tower door. It was October 1932, and the air in this quaint English village carried a chill that went beyond the autumn weather, a chill of secrets buried deep, waiting for Poirot's little grey cells to unearth them. Mon ami, Poirot said to Hastings, setting down his cup with precision. The past, it is the key to this crime. Sir Reginald was not killed for what he was, but for what he did. We must dig, like the gardener Thorne, into the roots of this village. He turned to Japp. Inspector, But Reginald squandered much of the fortune on failed ventures, mines, railways, schemes that promised wealth but delivered ruin. He was ruthless in business and in life. Poirot tilted his head, noting the bitterness in her tone. And in your marriage, madame? Was he ruthless also? She hesitated, her fingers brushing her pearls. He controlled everything. My movements, my friends. 2 years ago, I strayed with Victor Blackwell. It was brief, a mistake. Reginald found out and threatened divorce, ruin. But I stayed, for the manner, for appearances. Her eyes glistened, but no tears fell. Poirot leaned closer. And last night, where were you truly at 11, when he left for the tower? Asleep, she insisted, but her gaze faltered. Clara can confirm it. She brought me tea at 10. Poirot made a mental note to question the maid again. Lady Evelyn's alibi was too tidy, and her affair with Blackwell added a thread of motive, jealousy, perhaps, or fear of exposure. Leaving her, Poirot and Hastings ventured to Sir Reginald's study, a room of dark oak and leather-bound books, its air heavy with the scent of old cigars. Poirot rifled through the desk, his gloved hands meticulous. In a locked drawer, forced open by Japp earlier, he found a bundle of letters, tied with a faded ribbon. They were not love letters, but threats, written in a jagged hand. Pay for your sins, or the world will know. Another mentioned a child, born out of wedlock, hidden from society. Poirot's eyes gleamed. A secret child, Hastings. Could this be Mademoiselle Ellis's origin? A motive for resentment, no? Hastings frowned, peering over Poirot's shoulder. Clara? She's just a maid, Poirot. Surely not. But Poirot shook his head. In a village like this, mon ami, no one is just anything. Everyone has a story. They sought out Clara Ellis in the servants' quarters, where she was polishing silver, her hands trembling slightly. Mademoiselle, his pruning shears pausing. He accused my brother, Jacob, of stealing tools, a lie to cover his own mismanagement. Jacob lost his job, his health. We were evicted, left to beg. I clawed my way back, got this job, but I never forgot. His alibi held. The barman at the Black Boar confirmed Thorne was there until 11, leaving just enough time to reach the tower by midnight, but barely. Poirot studied Thorne's hands, strong enough to strangle, but the bruise on Sir Reginald's neck suggested a smaller grip. And last night, you saw nothing near the church. Thorne shook his head. I was home by 11:30, asleep. His tone was defiant, but Poirot noted a flicker of unease. Was Thorne hiding more than resentment? Returning to the bell tower, Poirot insisted on a thorough inspection. The stone steps were worn, the air damp and heavy with the memory of death. At the top, he examined the bell rope, noting its frayed strands, used recently, but by whom? The scratches on the railing were deeper than he'd first thought, suggesting a desperate struggle. But the footprints intrigued him most. Sir Reginald's heavy boots, and beside them, the smaller, delicate marks. A woman, perhaps, Poirot mused, or a man with small feet, like the vicar. Hastings chuckled. Langley? He's all sermon and no spine, Poirot. Do not underestimate Hastings, Poirot replied. The pious often hide the most. He knelt, finding a faint smear of wax on the stairs, candle wax, perhaps from a clandestine meeting. The green fabric scrap from yesterday matched nothing in the tower, suggesting it came from the killer's attire. Back at the manor, Japp reported a new lead. A villager had seen a cloaked figure near the church at 11:30, moving swiftly toward the tower. Could be our man, Japp said, or woman. No one got a clear look. Poirot's eyes twinkled. The cloak, Inspector, is a costume for concealment. Our killer is clever, but not invisible. As evening approached, Poirot gathered the suspects again, this time cufflink Monsieur Blackwell.
The bee. It was found in the tower. Lost, you say?
Blackwell blustered. Weeks ago. Anyone could have planted it. Poirot nodded, but his mind raced. The cufflink was too convenient. A red herring, perhaps. The footprints pointed elsewhere. Lady Evelyn's heels? Clara's shoes? Or even Langley's polished brogues? As the group dispersed, a scream shattered the silence. Clara burst into the library, her face ashen. "My room! It's been ransacked!" Poirot and Japp hurried to the servants' quarters, finding drawers upended, clothes strewn across the floor. On the pillow lay a note, scrawled in the same jagged hand as the blackmail letters. "Silence, or join him." Clara sobbed. "Someone thinks I know something." Poirot examined the note, his expression grave. "This, mademoiselle, is either a warning or a distraction." He turned to Japp. "The killer grows bold, Inspector. They fear exposure." Hastings whispered, "But who, Poirot? They all have alibis." "Alibis," Poirot said, "are like shadows. They shift with the light. Tomorrow, we dig deeper." As thunder rumbled outside, the manor seemed to close in, its secrets tightening like a noose. The shadow in the hedges, the wax, the footprints, each a clue. But to what? Poirot retired, his mind a whirlwind of possibilities, certain that the past held the key to the midnight murder, and that the killer was closer than anyone dared admit. Chapter 4. The False Trail. The rain lashed against the leaded windows of Harrington Manor, a relentless tattoo that mirrored the mounting tension within its walls. Hercule Poirot stood in the servants' quarters, his keen eyes surveying the chaos of Clara Ellis's ransacked room. Drawers hung open, their contents spilled like secrets laid bare. A cracked mirror reflected the flickering light of a single candle. The note on the pillow, "Silence or join him," lay in Poirot's gloved hand, its jagged script a taunting echo.
They fought about money and something personal. I didn't listen long. It wasn't my place.
Poirot nodded, but his mind catalogued her hesitance. Was she withholding more? Japp interrupted, holding up a blood-stained glove found by a constable in Elias Thorne's gardening shed. "This was hidden under a sack," he said, his voice grim. "The blood matches the bruise on Sir Reginald's neck, same type at least. Thorne's our man, Poirot." The glove, coarse and worn, bore traces of soil and blood, its size fitting Thorne's large hands. Hastings gasped. "That settles it, then. He had the motive, his family's ruin." Poirot's moustache twitched. "No, Hastings. It is too perfect, this glove. Planted, perhaps, to point the finger at Thorne." He turned to Japp. "We must question him, but carefully. The true killer wishes us to chase shadows." They marched to the greenhouse, where Thorne was sharpening tools, his broad shoulders hunched. Confronted with the glove, he roared, "That's not mine. I was at the pub, I told you." His alibi held. 3 villagers confirmed his presence until 11, but the timing was tight. Poirot noted Thorne's fury, but also his surprise. Genuine or feigned? Returning to the manor, Poirot summoned Victor Blackwell to the library. The businessman's florid face reddened further as Poirot produced the VB cufflink from the tower stairs. "Monsieur Blackwell," Poirot said, his voice sharp, "this was found where Sir Reginald died. You claim it was lost weeks ago. Convenient, no?" Blackwell stubbed out his cigar, his hands shaking. "I told you, Anyone could have taken it. I was in my room, reviewing accounts. Ask Reverend Langley. I spoke with him about investments at 10. Poirot's eyes narrowed. And your disagreements with Sir Reginald? Over money? Or perhaps Lady Evelyn? Blackwell's jaw tightened. That affair ended months ago. Reginald knew, but we'd settled it. I had no reason to kill him.
Slick with rain, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth. He examined the railing again, noting the scratches. Deep, frantic, as if Sir Reginald had clung for life. The smaller footprints, now blurred by the constable's boots, still suggested a second presence. Poirot knelt, finding a trace of wax on the landing, matching the smear from yesterday. "A candle," he murmured. "A meeting in the dark, perhaps?" Hastings suggested. Maybe Sir Reginald lit it himself? But Poirot shook his head. "No, the wax is fresh. Not his habit. Someone else was here." Back at the manor, Japp shared the autopsy report. No poison, no drugs. But the neck bruise confirmed strangulation before the fall. "The killer choked him, then pushed him to make it look like an accident," Japp said. Poirot nodded. "A staged fall, to hide the true method. But why? To delay suspicion, or to frame another?" He recalled the green fabric scrap, possibly from a cloak, like the one seen by the villager. Whose cloak? Lady Evelyn's wardrobe held no green. But Clara's shawl was a faded olive. Langley's vestry had cloaks aplenty, and Blackwell owned a hunting cape. Too many possibilities. Poirot gathered the suspects in the drawing room, the fire casting long shadows across their faces. "Mesdames et messieurs," he said, pacing. "The evidence mounts, yet the truth eludes. A glove points to Monsieur Thorne, a cufflink to Monsieur Blackwell. A note threatens Mademoiselle Ellis. Footprints suggest a woman, or a man with small feet. And wax hints at a secret meeting. Who among you hides the truth?" Lady Evelyn's pearls clicked nervously. Blackwell's cigar trembled. Thorne's fists clenched. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Langley's Bible seemed a shield. Lady Evelyn spoke first. "This is absurd, Monsieur Poirot. I was asleep, as Clara said." But the ledger also noted debts to a local lender, possibly tied to Thorne's family ruin. Layers upon layers, Poirot thought. As night fell, a storm raged, thunder shaking the manor. Poirot sat by the fire, piecing together the clues. The strangulation, the staged fall, the locked door, the missing key. Had it truly been in Sir Reginald's pocket, or was it placed post-mortem? The green fabric suggested a cloaked figure, perhaps the shadow in the hedges. Clara's fear hinted at knowledge, but of what? And Langley's piety, too fervent, perhaps a mask. A sudden crash startled him. Rushing to the hall, he found a window shattered, glass strewn across the floor. Outside, footprints in the mud, small like those in the tower, led toward the church. "Mon Dieu," Poirot whispered. "The killer moves again." He grabbed his coat, determined to follow, but Japp stopped him. "It's too dangerous, Poirot. Wait till dawn." Reluctantly, Poirot agreed, but sleep eluded him. The false trails were multiplying,
but the truth was near, hidden in the shadows of Eldridge Hollow. Tomorrow, he vowed, the little grey cells would shine a light on the murderer's path. Chapter 5. Whispers in the Night. The storm that battered Eldridge Hollow had subsided by midnight, leaving a restless quiet over Harrington Manor, broken only by the distant drip of rainwater from the eaves. Hercule Poirot, ever alert, stood by his bedroom window, the faint glow of a lantern illuminating his sharp features as he gazed toward the silhouette of St. Mary's bell tower. The events of the past day, the ransacked room, the blood-stained glove, the threatening note, the shattered window, swirled in his mind, each clue a thread in the intricate tapestry of Sir Reginald Harrington's murder. Captain Hastings snored softly in the next room, but Poirot's little grey cells refused rest. "The killer grows bold," he murmured. "But boldness betrays." It was October 4th, 1932, and the Belgian detective resolved to confront the shadows head-on. He proposed a vigil at the bell tower, certain that the midnight hour, when Sir Reginald met his end, held secrets yet to be unveiled. Inspector Japp, rubbing sleep from his eyes, joined Poirot and Hastings in the Manor's hall, his scepticism evident. "A vigil, Poirot? In this weather? The killer's long gone." Poirot's moustache twitched. "Non, Inspector. The tower calls to them, as it did to Sir Reginald. We shall wait, and we shall see." Bundled in overcoats, the trio trudged through the muddy churchyard, the air thick with the scent of wet stone and decay. The bell tower loomed, its Gothic spire a dark sentinel against the starless sky. Inside, the spiral staircase creaked underfoot, and the faint echo of the midnight chimes lingered in memory, as if the tower itself mourned. They positioned themselves in the shadows of the belfry, Poirot's eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Silence, mes amis," he whispered. "The killer may return, to cover tracks, to retrieve something lost." The minutes stretched, the only sounds the howl of wind and the occasional rustle of leaves. Then a creak, faint but unmistakable, from that night to plead. But he laughed, mocked my faith. I left him alive, I swear. Poirot's eyes narrowed. "And yet the bruise on his neck suggests violence. Your hands, monsieur, are they capable of such a grip?" Langley recoiled, clutching his Bible tighter. "I am a man of God. I could not kill." But Poirot's gaze was unrelenting. "We shall see, Reverend. Return to your vicarage. I will speak with you again." As Langley fled down the stairs, Japp muttered, "He's hiding something, Poirot. Those letters, motive enough for murder." Back at the manor, Poirot summoned Clara Ellis to the drawing room. The maid's eyes were red from crying, her hands twisting her apron. "Mademoiselle," Poirot said gently, "the note in your room, it threatens silence. What do you know that frightens the killer?" Clara's voice broke. I'm Sir Reginald's daughter, illegitimate. My mother was a maid here years ago. He cast her out, denied me. I confronted him that night in the tower, begging for recognition. He refused, called me a mistake. But I left him alive, I swear. Her sobs shook her slight frame, and Poirot's expression softened, though his mind raced. A secret child, motive for rage. But her small hands matched the neck bruise. Was she truthful or a skilled actress? Next, Poirot questioned Lady Evelyn in her private sitting room, where a fire cast shadows on the silk wallpaper. "Madame," he said, "your alibi rests on Mademoiselle Ellis, yet she is shaken. Were you truly asleep at 11, or did you visit the tower?" Lady Evelyn's face paled, her pearls clicking nervously. "I was elsewhere," she admitted. "I met a lover outside the manor. I cannot say who." Her refusal to name the man intrigued Poirot. Was it Blackwell, rekindling their affair? Or another, hidden player? "And your chalice, whose hands touched it?" They questioned Langley again, who was shaken but unharmed. "I didn't drink from it," he said, his voice trembling. "I found it this morning, in my study." Chemical traces pointed to Blackwell's business, which dealt in industrial compounds. Confronted, Blackwell blustered. "I handle chemicals, yes, but poison? Absurd. I was with Langley at 10, as he said." Poirot noted the vicar's hesitant nod, too hesitant, perhaps a lie to protect Blackwell, or himself. Poirot gathered the suspects in the library, the air thick with suspicion. "Mes amis," he said, pacing, "the clues multiply, yet the truth hides. A rope suggests a planned ascent. A pearl points to Madame Harrington. A chalice threatens the Revelon. And Mademoiselle Ellis, you carry a secret that endangers you. Who among you weaves this web?" Lady Evelyn's face was a mask, Blackwell's flushed with anger, Fawn's stoic, Clara's tear-streaked, Langley's pious but strained. Thorne spoke first. That glove wasn't mine, Poirot. Someone's framing me." Blackwell snapped. "And that cufflink's a plant. I'm no killer." Clara whispered, "I told you everything, sir." Langley clutched his Bible. "I am innocent. God knows." Lady Evelyn's voice was cold. "This is madness. I was not in the tower." Poirot smiled faintly. "Yet the pearl, madame, it was there, and the rope, whose hands tied it." He dismissed them, but not before noticing Blackwell's glance at Lady Evelyn and Clara's trembling retreat. Japp whispered, "We're close, Poirot. Langley's motive, those letters, is strong." But Poirot shook his head. "The motive, yes, but the method. The bruise suggests smaller hands. We must look closer." As night fell, Poirot sat by the fire, piecing together the puzzle. The rope confirmed an outside ascent, bypassing the locked door. The pearl implicated Lady Evelyn, but was it too obvious? Clara found in the fallen book, "Meet at tower, midnight, urgent," clutched in his gloved hand. Its jagged script matched the blackmail letters from Sir Reginald Harrington's study, and the threatening note left in Clara Ellis's ransacked room. The Belgian detective's moustache quivered slightly, a sign of his mind's relentless churn. Captain Hastings, perched on a leather armchair, fidgeted with his tie, while Inspector Japp paced, his boots scuffing the polished floor. It was October 5th, 1932, and the murder at the midnight bell tower wove an ever tighter web of deceit, with each clue, rope, pearl, chalice, cufflink, pointing in conflicting directions. "Mon ami," Poirot said to Hastings, "the killer spins a tapestry of lies, but the threads, they will unravel." The poisoned chalice found in Reverend Langley's vicarage weighed heavily on Poirot's thoughts. Its arsenic traces linked to Victor Blackwell's chemical dealings, but the businessman's alibi, corroborated by Langley, held firm. Japp, eager for progress, suggested, "Blackwell's our man, Poirot. He's got the means and motive. Those ledgers you found show Sir Reginald caught him embezzling." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Perhaps, Inspector, but the chalice feels like another false trail, meant to distract. We must test its origin." They summoned Blackwell to the library, where the fire cast flickering shadows on his florid face. Poirot held up the chalice, its silver glinting ominously. "Monsieur Blackwell, this was laced with arsenic, a chemical you procure for your business. Care to explain?" Blackwell's cigar trembled as he stubbed it out. "I deal in chemicals, yes, but poison? That's nonsense. Sir Reginald was bleeding me dry, threatening to expose my errors in our accounts. I argued with him, sure, but I didn't kill him." His voice was defiant, but his eyes flicked to the door, betraying unease. Poirot pressed. "And your cufflink, found in the tower?" Blackwell snapped. "Planted, I tell you. I lost it weeks ago." Poirot noted the sweat on his brow.
To Elias Thorne, found in the greenhouse pruning roses with a ferocity that suggested suppressed rage. "Monsieur Thorne," Poirot said, "the bloodied glove in your shed, was it yours?" Thorne's scowl deepened. "No, sir. Someone's framing me. Like I said, Sir Reginald ruined my family, but I didn't touch him. I was home by 11:30, after the pub." Jap interjected, "The blood on the glove doesn't match Sir Reginald's, Poirot. It's a plant, all right." Poirot nodded. "A distraction, Inspector. But by whom? And why?" Thorne's alibi was solid, but his strength made him a candidate for strangulation, yet the neck bruise suggested smaller hands. Lady Evelyn was next, questioned in her sitting room, where a portrait of Sir Reginald loomed like a spectre. "Madame," Poirot said, "the pearl found in the tower matches your necklace. Were you there that night?" Her face paled, her fingers tightening on her shawl. "I told you, I was with a lover, not in the tower. The pearl must have been taken. Someone's trying to implicate me." Her refusal to name her lover intrigued Poirot. Was it Blackwell, or another? Gossip among the servants hinted at Thorne, an unlikely but scandalous possibility. "And your husband's will," Poirot said. "It favors you, no? A motive, perhaps?" Lady Evelyn's eyes flashed. "I endured his cruelty for years. I didn't need to kill him to be free." Poirot reconstructed the timeline in his mind. Sir Reginald dined alone at 10, left for the tower at 11, rang the bell at midnight, then fell, or was pushed. The locked door, the key in his pocket, the rope in the niche, all pointed to a planned act. The chimes would have masked any struggle, explaining why no one heard cries. Hastings suggested, "Could it be a mechanical device, Poirot? A trap to strangle him?" Poirot shook his head. "No, Hastings. This is human passion. Anger, grief." His frail frame seemed unfit for strangulation. Poirot gathered the suspects in the drawing room, the air heavy with smoke and suspicion. "Mesdames et messieurs," he said, pacing, "the web tightens. A rope reveals a killer's ascent. A pearl points to Madame Harrington. A chalice threatens the Reverend. A glove implicates Monsieur Thorne, and a cufflink Monsieur Blackwell. Now, a fire destroys evidence, and a note summons Sir Reginald to his doom. Who weaves this tangle?" Lady Evelyn's face was impassive, Blackwell's flushed, Thorne's stoic, Clara's tearful.
Langley's, pious but strained. Blackwell spoke first. "You're chasing ghosts, Poirot. I didn't set that fire." Thorne growled. "Nor I. Someone's framing us all." Clara whispered, "I'm scared, sir. Someone wants me dead." Langley clutched his Bible. "This is the devil's work." Lady Evelyn's voice was icy. "I lost a husband, not my honour." Poirot dismissed them, but not before noticing Blackwell's glance at Lady Evelyn and Clara's trembling retreat. He pulled Japp aside. "Inspector, test the chalice for fingerprints, and watch Monsieur Blackwell. His temper betrays him." Japp nodded, dispatching a constable to the vicarage. Hastings whispered, "It's got to be Langley, Poirot. Those letters, his fear of ruin." But Poirot shook his head. "The motive, yes, but the hands? The bruise suggests smaller fingers. Clara, perhaps, or Lady Evelyn." As night deepened, Poirot sat by the fire, piecing together the clues. The rope confirmed an external ascent, bypassing the locked door. The pearl implicated Lady Evelyn, but was it planted? Clara's confession explained her fear, but her presence in the tower was uncertain. Langley's letters provided motive, but his physicality was questionable. Blackwell's chemicals and embezzlement pointed to guilt, yet his alibi. The Belgian detective's moustache quivered as his little grey cells churned, weaving together the threads of Sir Reginald Harrington's murder. The rope, the pearl, the poisoned chalice, the bloodied glove, the VB cufflink, and now the arson. Each clue pointed to a different suspect, yet Poirot sensed a singular truth beneath the deception. Captain Hastings, nursing a cup of tea, looked haggard, while Inspector Japp, his face grim, reported the latest findings. It was October 5th, 1932, and the case grew ever more perilous, with the killer striking closer to home. "Mon ami," Poirot said to Hastings, "the fire was no accident. It was a desperate act to destroy evidence. But this note survived. It summoned Sir Reginald to his death, and its author is our murderer, or their accomplice." He held up the fragment, its edges blackened. Japp nodded. "We've got fingerprints on the chalice, Poirot. They're Blackwell's. He's our man, I'd wager." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "Perhaps, Inspector, but fingerprints can be planted, like gloves and cufflinks. We must dig deeper into the hidden motives that drive this crime." They summoned Reverend Thomas Langley to the library, where the vicar stood clutching his Bible, his thin frame trembling. Poirot held up the note. "Monsieur le Reverend, this was found in the ashes. It matches the blackmail letters and the threat to Mademoiselle Ellis. You admitted meeting Sir Reginald in the tower to discuss your embezzlement. Did you write this?" Langley's face paled, his knuckles whitening. I wrote a note, yes, to summon him. I wanted to confess, to beg forgiveness for the church funds I misused. But he attacked me, mocked my faith. I pushed him away, but he was alive when I left. His voice cracked, and Poirot noted the desperation. A man cornered, but by guilt or fear. "And the bruise on his neck," Poirot pressed. "It suggests strangulation." Eyes gleamed. "A shadow, mademoiselle. Cloaked, perhaps." She nodded, trembling. Poirot turned to Lady Evelyn, found in her sitting room, her black silk dress stark against her pale skin. "Madame," he said, "the pearl in the tower points to you. Your lover, unnamed, complicates your alibi. Was it Monsieur Blackwell, or another?" Lady Evelyn's lips tightened. "I told you, I was with someone, not in the tower. The pearl was stolen, planted to frame me." Poirot leaned closer. "And the will? It favors you, but only if Sir Reginald died. Did you know of his plans to change it?" Her eyes flashed. "He threatened to, yes, to punish me for my indiscretions. But I didn't need to kill him. The manor is mine now." Her defiance was brittle, and Poirot sensed a crack in her facade. They sought Victor Blackwell in the smoking room, where he puffed a cigar, his florid face flushed with anger. "Monsieur Blackwell," Poirot said, "your fingerprints on the chalice, your cufflink in the tower, your embezzlement from Sir Reginald, these are damning. Explain." Blackwell's cigar trembled. "The chalice? I never touched it. Someone's using my supplies to frame me. As for the cufflink, I lost it weeks ago. And yes, I took funds, but only to save our business. Reginald's schemes were sinking us." His alibi, meeting Langley at 10, held, but Poirot noted his nervous glance toward the door. Was he protecting someone? Elias Thorne was next, found in the garden, his hands stained with soil. "Monsieur Thorne," Poirot said, "the glove in your shed was a plant, but your strength could strangle a man. Did you follow Sir Reginald to the tower?" Thorne's scowl deepened. "I hated him, but I was home by 11:30. The pub confirms it. Someone's pinning this on me, like that glove." Poirot studied his massive hands, too large for the neck bruise, but capable of tying the rope found in the tower. Poirot reconstructed the timeline. Sir Reginald left the manor at 11, met Clara, or small hands, like Clara's or Lady Evelyn's. As evening fell, Poirot gathered the suspects in the drawing room, the fire casting long shadows. "Mes amis," he said, pacing, "the motive is hidden, but it emerges. Monsieur Langley, you feared exposure. Mademoiselle Ellis, you sought justice. Madame Harrington, you desired freedom. Monsieur Blackwell, you faced ruin. Monsieur Thorne, you burned with revenge. Yet the clues, rope, pearl, chalice, note, point in circles. Who tied the rope? Who dropped the pearl? Who wrote the note?" Lady Evelyn's pearls clicked. Blackwell's cigar trembled. Thorne's fists clenched. Clara's eyes teared. Langley's Bible shook. Blackwell snapped. "You're grasping, Poirot. I didn't write that note." Thorne growled. "Nor I. It's a frame, like the glove." Clara whispered, "I saw the shadow, that's all." Langley's voice was shrill. "I confessed my meeting, but I'm innocent." Lady Evelyn's tone was icy. "This is a witch hunt." Poirot dismissed them, but not before noticing Clara's glance at Lady Evelyn and Blackwell's at Thorne. Japp whispered, "Langley's note is our best lead, Poirot. He's got motive and opportunity." But Poirot shook his head. "The note, yes, but the handwriting, too similar to the blackmail letters. Is it his or a forgery?" That night, danger struck closer. As Poirot and Hastings returned to their rooms, the manor's car, used by Japp, rolled forward, unmanned, its brakes tampered. Poirot leapt aside, pulling Hastings to safety. "Mon Dieu," he gasped, "the killer targets us now." Japp's men found a cut brake line, deliberate sabotage. "They're desperate," Japp said. "We're close." Poirot sat by the fire, the note in his hand. The rope confirmed a planned murder, the pearl a possible plant, the chalice a distraction. Clara's shadow, Langley's confession, Blackwell's fingerprints, Lady Evelyn's lover, Thorne's strength, all the evening of October 5, 1932, and the murder of Sir Reginald Harrington at the midnight bell tower had woven a web of clues. Rope, pearl, chalice, glove, cufflink, and notes that pointed in every direction, yet converged on a single truth. The sabotaged car, the burned library, the threatening shadow, all signaled a killer growing desperate. "Mes amis," Poirot began, his voice steady. "The storm gathers, and tonight the truth will break." He paced, his polished shoes clicking on the parquet floor, his hands clasped behind his back. The clues, they align, yet they deceive. A rope in the tower niche reveals a planned ascent. A pearl from Madame Harrington's necklace suggests her presence. A poisoned chalice threatens Monsieur le Reverend. A glove implicates Monsieur Thorne. A cufflink, Monsieur Blackwell. A note summons Sir Reginald to his doom. And a fire destroys evidence. But the bruise on his neck, it tells the true story. Strangulation, then a staged fall. Who among you weaves this tapestry of lies? The suspects shifted uneasily. Lady Evelyn Harrington, her black silk dress stark against her pale skin. Victor Blackwell, his cigar unlit, his face flushed. Elias Thorne, his massive hands clenched. Clara Ellis, her eyes tearful. Reverend Thomas Langley, clutching his Bible like a shield. Poirot turned to Clara first. "Mademoiselle Ellis, the smaller footprints in the tower, yours perhaps? You admitted confronting Sir Reginald, your father, that night." Clara's voice trembled. "I was there, yes, but only to beg for recognition. I left him alive at 11:30. I saw a shadow outside, cloaked, but I swear I didn't harm him." Her alibi, supported by Lady Evelyn, held, but Poirot noted her fear. Was it of the killer, or of could strangle? Your grudge against Sir Reginald is clear, yet the glove was planted, the blood not his. Where were you truly at midnight? Thorne growled. "Home, after the pub. Witnesses confirm it. Someone's pinning this on me, like that glove." His hands, too large for the neck bruise, suggested innocence, but his temper hinted at capability. Finally, Poirot faced Langley. "Monsieur le Reverend, you admitted writing a note to summon Sir Reginald, fearing exposure of your embezzlement. The bruise on his neck, could it be from your clerical collar, tightened in rage?" Langley's face paled, his Bible trembling. "Absurd! I met him, yes, to confess my sin. He mocked me, but I left him alive. I am no murderer." Poirot's gaze was unrelenting. "Yet the note, it matches the blackmail letters. And your presence in the tower at midnight last night. What did you seek?" As the suspects protested, Poirot raised a hand. "Enough. The evidence points to you, Reverend Langley. The note, your motive, the wax from your lantern in the tower. You met Sir Reginald, argued, strangled him with your collar, then pushed him to simulate a fall. Langley's voice rose to a shriek. "Lies! I pushed him away, but he lived when I left." The room fell silent, the fire crackling ominously. Poirot turned to Japp. "Inspector, search the vicarage. The embezzlement papers. Sir Reginald kept copies. They are Langley's motive." Japp dispatched a constable, who returned with a locked box from Langley's study, containing letters detailing the vicar's theft from church funds. "Proof," Japp said, "of motive." Langley collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "He would have ruined me, but I didn't kill him." But as Poirot spoke, a sudden movement shattered the tension. Blackwell bolted for the door, his heavy frame knocking over a chair. Japp's men seized him, his face contorted with panic. "I'm not going down for—" Narrow and precise, hinted at a scarf or small hands. Clara's? Lady Evelyn's? Or a clever man like Blackwell using a ligature? Poirot summoned the servants, probing for new clues. A footman revealed Lady Evelyn had been seen slipping out at 11, not with a lover, but toward the church. Confronted, she admitted, "I followed Reginald to argue about the will. I saw him climb the tower, but I turned back. I swear he was alive." Her story wavered, and Poirot noted the missing pearl. Stolen or lost in a struggle? Japp's men found no fingerprints on the note, but the ink matched Blackwell's desk. "He's our man," Japp insisted, but Poirot hesitated. "The ink is common, Inspector. The killer is clever, planting clues to confuse." Hastings whispered, "What about a conspiracy, Poirot? Langley and Blackwell together?" Poirot shook his head. "Possible, but the bruise suggests one hand. We are close, but not there." As night fell, Poirot sat by the fire, piecing together the puzzle. The rope confirmed premeditation, the pearl a possible frame, the chalice a distraction, the note a lure. Langley's motive was strong, but his physicality weak. Blackwell's flight suggested guilt, but his hands were too large for the bruise. Clara's fear hinted at knowledge, Lady Evelyn's alibi at deceit, Thorne's strength at possibility. The sabotaged car, the fire, acts of a killer cornered. A sudden creak in the hall startled him. Peering out, Poirot saw a shadow slip toward the back door, a cloaked figure, lantern in hand. He followed, silent as a cat, but the figure vanished into the churchyard. "Mon Dieu," he whispered, "the killer returns to the tower." He resolved to set a trap tomorrow, announcing a revelation to flush them out. The storm was gathering, and the truth would soon break, revealing the hidden motive behind the midnight murder. Chapter 9. The Unveiling. The drawing room of Harrington Manor was— "Mesdames et messieurs, the web of deceit unravels tonight. The killer of Sir Reginald Harrington stands among us, and the little grey cells, they have seen the truth." He paced, his polished shoes clicking on the parquet floor, each step a metronome of revelation. "The crime," he began, "was no simple act. Sir Reginald was lured to the bell tower at midnight, strangled with a scarf or small hands, then pushed to stage a fall. The locked door, the key in his pocket, these were meant to baffle. But the clues speak. A rope for a scent, a pearl from Madame Harrington, a chalice with Monsieur Blackwell's prints, a glove in Monsieur Thorne's shed, a cufflink marked VB. A note summoning the victim, a fire to destroy evidence, and a shadow in the night. Each points to guilt, yet each is a thread in a tapestry of misdirection. Poirot turned to Clara Ellis, her slight frame trembling. Mademoiselle, the footprints in the tower, small like yours. You admitted confronting your father, Sir Reginald, seeking recognition as his illegitimate daughter. Did rage drive you to violence? Clara's voice broke.
No, Monsieur Poirot. I begged him, yes. But I left him alive at 11:30. I saw a cloaked shadow outside, I swear.
Her tears seemed genuine, but Poirot noted her small hands, capable of the neck bruise. Her alibi, tied to Lady Evelyn, wavered. He faced Lady Evelyn next. Madame, the pearl from your necklace was found in the tower. You claim it was stolen, yet you admit arguing with Sir Reginald about divorce. Your lover, unnamed, complicates your story. Was it Monsieur Blackwell, rekindling your affair? Lady Evelyn's eyes flashed. I was not in the tower, Monsieur Poirot. I met someone outside, yes, but Reginald was alive when I saw him last. The pearl was planted to frame.
Night had betrayed panic.
Monsieur Blackwell, your fingerprints on the chalice, your cufflink in the tower, your embezzlement from Sir Reginald. These scream guilt. Yet you claim innocence. Why run? Blackwell's cigar was unlit, his hands shaking. I panicked, all right. The chalice was a frame, the cufflink lost weeks ago. Reginald caught me skimming funds, yes, but I didn't kill him. His glance at Lady Evelyn was telling. Guilt or fear of her betrayal? Poirot paused, letting the silence weigh on them. The little grey cells, they have worked tirelessly. The rope shows a planned ascent, bypassing the locked door. The pearl implicates Madame Harrington, but perhaps too obviously. The chalice points to Monsieur Blackwell, the glove to Monsieur Thorne, the note to Monsieur Langley, all distractions. The bruise, narrow and precise, suggests a scarf or small hands. But the note, its script matches the blackmail letters, yet feels staged. A forgery, perhaps, to frame the Reverend. He turned to Jab. Inspector, the ledger from Sir Reginald's study. Examine it closely. Jab produced the book, its pages detailing Blackwell's embezzlement. Poirot pointed to a signature, its jagged flourish matching the note. Monsieur Blackwell, this is your hand, no? You forged the note to lure Sir Reginald, knowing he'd meet Langley. Blackwell's face contorted. No, I didn't write it. But Poirot pressed on. You followed Sir Reginald to the tower, overheard his argument with Langley. When the Reverend left, you struck, strangling him with a scarf, your hunting scarf, perhaps, green like the fabric scrap, then pushed him to stage a fall. The room gasped. Blackwell roared, Lies! I was in my room! But Poirot continued. Your motive. Sir Reginald discovered your renewed affair with Madame Harrington and your theft from the partnership. He threatened ruin. You acted, planting the sobbed in relief. Lady Evelyn sank into her chair. Thorne grunted. Langley clutched his Bible, murmuring prayers. Jap cuffed Blackwell, who hung his head. You've done it again, Poirot, Jap said, shaking his head. How'd you know?
Poirot smiled faintly. The little grey cells, Inspector. They see what others miss. The pattern, the passion, the panic. He turned to Hastings. Mon ami, the truth is simple, yet complex. Blackwell's greed and love drove him to murder, and his cunning wove the red herrings. As the suspects dispersed, Poirot lingered, gazing at the fire. The case was nearly closed, but one thread remained. The key. Was it truly in Blackwell's possession? Or had another hand placed it in Sir Reginald's pocket? The shadow in the night, the sabotaged car. Were they all Blackwell's doing? Or was there another player? Poirot's mind hummed, sensing a final twist. Tomorrow, he vowed, he would resolve the last mystery. For the bell tower's secrets were not yet fully unveiled. Chapter 10. Resolution at Dawn. The dawn broke over Eldridge Hollow with a serene clarity, the first unclouded sky in days casting a golden glow across the village. Harrington Manor stood silent, its ivy-clad walls no longer cloaked in the gloom of secrets. Hercule Poirot, his overcoat neatly buttoned and his moustache impeccably waxed, stood in the manor's drawing room, the fire now reduced to embers. The arrest of Victor Blackwell the previous night had unravelled the web of deceit surrounding Sir Reginald Harrington's murder. Yet one nagging thread, the mystery of the tower key, lingered in Poirot's mind. Captain Hastings, bleary-eyed but relieved, sipped tea, while Inspector Japp, his notebook tucked away, prepared to escort Blackwell to London. It was October 6, 1932, and the case of the Midnight Bell Tower was nearing its close. But Poirot's little grey cells demanded a final reckoning. Mon ami. Blackwell, cloaked, ascending via the rope, strangling Sir Reginald with his green hunting scarf, then pushing him to stage a fall. The key, Blackwell claimed, was placed in the victim's pocket to create the illusion of an impossible crime. Yet Poirot knelt, examining the floor. A faint glint caught his eye. A tiny brass shaving, barely visible in the dust. Mon Dieu, he murmured, pocketing it. A second key, perhaps? Or a tool to tamper with the lock? Hastings frowned. But Blackwell confessed, Poirot. Why doubt him now? Poirot smiled faintly. Because, Hastings, a confession may hide as much as it reveals. We must confirm. Back at the manor, Poirot summoned the remaining players, Lady Evelyn Harrington, Clara Ellis, Elias Thorne, and Reverend Thomas Langley. The drawing room was quieter now. The weight of accusation lifted, yet tension lingered. Lady Evelyn, her mourning dress softened by a grey shawl, sat composed, her pearls gleaming. Clara, no longer trembling, stood by the window, her eyes hopeful. Thorne, his hands clean of soil, leaned against the wall, his scowl softened. Langley, his Bible at rest, seemed diminished, his piety humbled by his confessed embezzlement. Mesdames et messieurs, Poirot began, pacing. Monsieur Blackwell has confessed to the murder of Sir Reginald. He forged the note to lure him to the tower, used his scarf to strangle, then staged the fall. The rope, the cufflink lost in struggle, the glove planted to frame Monsieur Thorne, the chalice to silence Monsieur Langley, the fire to destroy the ledger, all his doing. Yet one question remains. The key. Why place it in Sir Reginald's pocket, risking discovery, when he could have taken it Japp interjected. He said it was to confuse us, Poirot. Make it look like suicide or an accident. Poirot nodded. Oui, but consider. The lock was intact. The key fit perfectly. Yet this
Sabotaged car, the fire, acts of desperation, yet precise. Poirot turned to Clara.
Mademoiselle, you saw the shadow. Was it tall, broad, like Monsieur Blackwell?
Clara hesitated.
Yes, sir, but it moved quickly, almost silent. I thought it was a man, but I couldn't swear.
Poirot addressed Lady Evelyn.
Madame, your affair with Monsieur Blackwell resumed despite your denial?
Her face paled.
It was brief, a mistake. Reginald knew, threatened to disinherit me. But I didn't help Victor kill him.
Her voice rang true, but Poirot noted her glance at Clara. Fear or collusion? He turned to Langley.
Monsieur le Révérend, your note lured Sir Reginald, but was it forged by Blackwell, or did you play a part?
Langley's hands trembled. I wrote a note, yes, but only to confess my sin. I didn't know he'd die. Thorne, silent until now, growled, You're chasing ghosts, Poirot. Blackwell's your man. Poirot paused, his mind aligning the final pieces.
The key, mes amis, was not just a deception. It was a necessity. Blackwell locked the door to delay discovery, ensuring his escape. The lockpick confirms his method. The shadow, the cloak, the scarf, all his. The little grey cells triumph.
Japp clapped Poirot's shoulder. You've done it, old chap. Blackwell's headed for the gallows. The constable confirmed. The key was found in Blackwell's pocket during his arrest, not Sir Reginald's, proving he'd taken it post-murder. The brass shaving matched his lockpick, sealing his guilt. As the suspects dispersed, relief washed over the room. Lady Evelyn inherited the manor, vowing to restore its legacy with charity. Clara, recognized in the will after Poirot's urging, received a small bequest, her future secured. Thorne, cleared of suspicion, returned to his garden, his grudge buried. Langley